Welcome to MCN and an incredibly important first test. We've just got back from riding the new Norton Manx R. We've had 2 days of riding, we've ridden it on road and track. I've got my thoughts in order and I've got to say, it's a really interesting test. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of the new Manx R, I think it's really worth revisiting the Norton story. I mean, this is a manufacturer that is just absolutely draped in history and heritage. From some of their groundbreaking designs, iconic machines, to an insane amount of TT wins. The Norton motorcycle brand is huge wherever you are in the world. But it hasn't all been plain sailing for the British brand. We all know about the trials and tribulations from the Stuart Garner era of Norton, and in 2020 they were acquired by TVS Motorcycles, which are one of the biggest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. Now, TVS have pumped in over £200 million of investment. They really mean business, and over the last 6 years the whole Norton Motorcycles umbrella has evolved massively. They've got a whole new factory in Solihull that's packed with technology, which is packed with really modern ways of doing things. They've got design teams all over the world. They've got the might of TVS behind them. And now they've finally come to the table with their first all-new machine, the Manx R. So this is a really interesting bike. When you look at the superbike sector, it is absolutely jam-packed with incredible machinery. You've got the likes of Ducati's Panigale V4S and V4R. You've got Bimota's KB998 Rimini. You've got Honda's Fireblade. You've then got cheaper models like the Kawasaki ZX-10R and the Suzuki GSX-R 1000R making a return. It's just absolutely packed with incredible machinery, and it's not just machinery that's been released in 2026. All of these bikes have evolved over years and years and years. It gives them a real head start. It gives manufacturers the chance to really iron out any issues, smooth things out, and Norton are coming in cold. Now, in order to combat this, they've told us that they haven't really made a superbike that's there to, crush lap times and win World Superbike races, where so many other machines are built to a specification to go racing. They've purposefully put this as a more road-orientated superbike. So it's got an all-new 1200cc 72-degree V4. Well, I say it's all new. It's all new except the oil filter. That's the only thing that's shared with the previous generation. It's got an all-new chassis. It's got a full suite of electronics, so that covers everything from quartering ABS and traction control to wheelie control to launch control. Even comes with cruise control. And it also comes with some really nice features too. So it comes with top of the range Brembo high pure calipers. It also comes with Marzocchi suspension, which varies in specification depending on the models. And it also comes with that super clean, clear appearance with no aero, no wings, no fins. So we said about the different models. I'm gonna give you a little bit of breakdown on what they are, because Norton's pricing strategy has been really interesting. So the standard base model comes in at £20,250. Now that is really interesting, because that's just above the GSX-R and the ZX-10. That's below the likes of the standard Panigale and the Fireblade. You then have the Manx R Apex, which is £24,750. That comes with semi-active Marzocchi suspension and a few other nice bits like some different wheels. And then we had the signature model, the one that we were riding, and that goes up quite sharply. So that is £38,750. Now what you get for that is you get the semi-active Marzoccchis, you get carbon wheels, you get carbon fairings, and a few other little nice bits as well, including a single seat unit. There's also a Manx R first edition, but that's going to be sold in really limited numbers, and there isn't actually a available price for that. You've got to sort of go to Norton with a big wad of money and see what you get. But it's not all about sort of heritage and pricing. The most important thing is how it rides. And I've learned a hell of a lot about this bike over 2 days of riding on road and track. Now, firstly, it looks absolutely beautiful up close. The detailing on it is really nice. The fit and finish is absolutely gorgeous. When you're sitting on the bike, the cockpit is really clean. It's decluttered. There's like a lovely carbon housing behind the dash. And on the subject of which, the 8-inch TFT dash is absolutely exceptional. So it's touchscreen when you're at a standstill. You've also got a joystick for when you're on the go. And it's really easy to navigate through, to go onto your trip. You can change between the 3 preset rider modes, or you can go straight into the 2 track modes where you can then alter the parameters individually. So say for example, you can leave wheelie control on higher, but turn the traction control down, or vice versa. It's really easy to navigate. And even when you just jump on it, it's really easy to understand. It's unlike a lot of the sort of motorcycle dashes out there where you've got to, you know, take hours to get used to the little intricacies of them. It feels almost sort of smartphone-esque in the way that you can sort of pick it up and read it and go between the menus. And another really nice thing as well is when you turn it off, it actually keeps the settings as they were. So if you have your preset settings that you really like, if you need to stop for fuel, turn the bike off, turn the bike back on, and it's exactly how you left it. But tech isn't always a good thing. And one of the most annoying things to start off with is the fact that it's keyless. Now, I really like keyless on certain types of bikes, you know, on adventure bikes, on naked bikes, but for a superbike, I don't think it's really necessary, purely on the basis that a lot of modern levers don't actually have provisions for pockets. So say, for example, you've got a suit like mine that's got an airbag. You don't really want to have a key flown about in case the airbag goes off. And it's just really frustrating because we had to house them below the seat. Now, the really interesting thing is when you get going. So there's been some seriously bold claims from Norton. They say it's got, you know, the meatiest, chunkiest mid-range of all the superbikes on offer. And to be honest, when you start riding it, it doesn't actually feel as fast as I thought it would. Now, we're going to cue all of the comments about superbikes being too fast and you don't need any more than 150 horsepower, and that's fine, I understand that on the road. But that sort of hit from 3,000 to 5 p.m. onwards, I was just really expecting to almost be sort of pulled out the seat. And it doesn't actually do that. It doesn't feel any faster or more urgent than any of the other V4s on offer. And the peak power sort of, it doesn't hit in as hard as you'd imagine either. Although it's claimed at over 200 horsepower, it doesn't feel particularly fast, especially when you give it a big open straight, you're firing gears at it. It's not the most urgent motor in the world. Like, of course it spins up fast, it feels fast, but in comparison to the likes of, you know, your Aprilias and your Ducatis, it doesn't have that same sort of arm-ripping superbike power that we've sort of come to love in the past, especially in the past 4 or 5 years or so. The gearbox is really nice and clean from sort of second to sixth and back down to second. It's really nice. The quick shifter and auto blipper work really well. But one of the other slight niggles I had with it is when it's cold, it's an absolute nightmare to get into neutral. It's almost impossible. When it warms up, it's a bit better. And the actual feeling on the clutch isn't that crisp either. It's actually really easy to stall. Now, I'm really lucky I get to ride loads of bikes. You can pretty much get a feel for anything pretty quickly. And it almost felt like a lumpy V-twin in getting it off. You had to sort of like roll it into it. And it was just quite difficult to get your head around, even though we did loads of starting, loads of stopping, did quite a lot of mileage on it. It wasn't the easiest bike to get off the line, even from, you know, traffic light or something like that. And it sort of loses points in its usability because of that. On the subject of which, I have to say that if you're going to be doing longer runs on it, you're going to run into a lot of fuel stations. It only comes with a 14.5 litre tank. And what that means is when you're riding spirited, it's going to be between 30 to 40 miles per gallon. So we had quite a fast ride on it, and the fuel light came on around the 80-mile mark. You're looking at about 105 miles for a full tank, and even if you're riding conservatively, I think you'd struggle to get anywhere near sort of 140 miles out of it. But it's not actually a bad thing, because one thing that really surprised me about the Manx R is that it wasn't as comfortable as I was expecting. Now, when Norton built this as the sort of superbike for the road, I was expecting like a superbike GT. So I was picturing something that sits between maybe like a Ninja 1100 SX and a ZX10, just something a little bit more upright, a little bit more calmer, but still has that sort of braking power and performance. And when you get on it, you do realise that actually it is more superbike than sports tourer. Although the bars sit slightly higher than on some other conventional superbikes and they're splayed out nicely, there's loads of room. If you're bigger, there'll still be quite a lot of room where sort of the bars to the seat's concerned. The actual foot pegs are very high. So when you're sitting on them, your legs do get cramped up pretty quickly. And I've only got short legs. I've only got a 29-inch inside leg. And I was finding that I was doing sort of the leg dangling after 45 minutes or 50 minutes or so in the saddle. So I just wish that they'd have sort of softened it off a bit and, you know, just made it that little bit calmer, that little bit more road biased, because even on track, we never run into sort of any issues at all in terms of ground clearance. If we could just bring those pegs down a little bit, maybe bring them forward a little bit, it would really improve the riding experience. And even on the signature model, the foot pegs aren't adjustable, which is a bit of a shame. Now, it might sound like I'm giving this bike a bit of a kick in, and to be honest, it's only because it's entered such a brutal, aggressive segment. So last year I spent all year with BMW's S1000RR. I was lucky enough to ride Ducati's Panigale V4R a couple of weeks ago, and what they offer compared to the Norton, especially on track, is just a little bit of a helping hand with you. So when you jump on the Norton, it's not the easiest machine to get the most out of. Although the electronic rider aids are sort of really impressive for the most part, the ABS is incredible, and the braking power from those Brembo high pure calipers are absolutely exceptional. It stops incredibly. It feels like you just need to put a little bit more rider input in, a little bit more effort, and it doesn't feel as easy, it doesn't feel as effortless as some of the other modern superbikes that are now in their, their third, fourth, fifth iterations. And a small part of that as well is due to the fact that it's got quite a short wheelbase. In fact, only the Suzuki GSX-R 1000R has a shorter wheelbase in the segment. It's quite flighty, it's quite aggressive, and you've got to fight it. It feels almost like an older Panigale in the way you've got to sort of grab it by the scruff of the neck and absolutely wrestle it. I think we were at Monte Blanco and it's fairly open, it's got a few undulations, but I think it's somewhere like Cadwell Park or Alton Park in the UK. It'd be great fun to get around there, but it'd be real hard work and you'd end up going quite substantially slower than you would on one of the other competitors. So what I'm getting at here is that the Manx R is a really good machine. It is a brilliant machine. Sort of 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you'd be looking at this at being a serious competitor on road and track, but where other manufacturers have sort of gone in clearer directions. So you look at BMW have gone a bit more track focused, but still managed to maintain a lot of that usability on the road. Ducati are always quite track focused. The Suzuki and the Kawasaki are sort of, a bit softer and a bit cheaper. I feel like Norton would have been better just making it slightly more road biased, making it a little bit softer, a little bit longer, a little bit more stable, perhaps a little bit more comfortable as well, and they'd have been onto a serious winner. Now, this is only the first release from, the new era of Norton, and the work that's gone into it is incredible. The fact that they've been able to put this bike together in what is essentially 2 years of development, get a team around them that can build something that beautiful, it is a testament to their work. They've done a good job, but when the ceiling is already so high, I think for it to be a proper competitor on road and track, they just need that little bit more. Now, we're going to test this out very soon indeed. We're going to have one here in the UK to do a massive group test on road and track. It's going to be really interesting to see where it sits. And On the reliability issue as well, we're also going to be having one as a long-termer, which will be running throughout the year. So we'll keep you updated on, how it performs throughout summer, throughout winter, and also how it lasts as well. They come as standard with a 3-year warranty, but it's going to be really interesting to see how it holds up in the UK, how it deals with potholes, how it deals with salty roads, and all the stuff that you lot are going to chuck its way if you do intend on buying one. Now, if you're watching this video, if you've put a deposit down, honestly, I don't think you'll be disappointed, because it is an incredible machine and it's a massive step up on what's been released under the Norton brand previously, especially, the last 10, 15 years. But what this now shows to me is that, Norton can build a proper bike. They can build a proper bike with purpose. They just need to be a little bit clearer on what that purpose is. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Also, please let us know what you think in the comments below. Would you fancy buying one? Would this sort of tempt you away from the likes of, your Ducatis, your Aprilias, your BMWs, or even tempt you up from your Suzukis and your Kawasaki's? Now, Norton say they have got no interest in going racing. This bike isn't homologated to go racing. Would that change your mind on it? Either way, they have done a really good job, and I can't wait to compare it to its rivals.